Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Lokashankaram Samasta Janakalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam Paramanandamadhavam. Yesterday's verses.
38. विविक्तदेश आसीनः विरागो विजितेन्द्रियः भावयेदेकमात्मानं तमनन्तमनन्यधीः आत्मन्येवाखिलं दृश्यं प्रविलाप्य धिया सुधीः भावयेदेकमात्मानं निर्मलाकाशवत् सदा रूपवर्णादिकं सर्वं विहाय परमार्थवित् परिपूर्णचिदानन्द स्वरूपेणावतिष्ठते ज्ञात्र ज्ञाननेयभेदः परेणात्मनि विद्यते चिदानन्दैकरूपत्वात् दीप्यते स्वयमेव हि.
So sitting in a quiet place, undisturbed, you take up the practice of dissolving even that last thought. Which thought are we talking of? The thought of Aham Brahma Asmi, which is the Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha, which is a flow of an unobstacled flow of a single file of thoughts. A thought without any obstacles of your own doubts, flows effortlessly. That thought also you try to dissolve in that Brahman and remain as that pure Brahman. And for that purpose, for going deeper into your meditation, you find a solitary place. You find a solitary place means you find a time and you find a place and focus on this and this alone. It is the meaning of it. To find a solitary place, undisturbed time means what? Focus. That facilitates, therefore that is said. Many times when people read these kind of things, they think, oh, now itself I should do that. No. You can't do it. Even if you want, you can't do it. Even if you want, you can't do it. We used to go to Siddhabari to study with Swamiji. Gurudev used to teach. 7 days camp, everybody. 8th day, can we go to Dharmashala? Dharmashala is nearby there. Can we go to Dharmashala? Sightseeing. Nothing wrong about it. But even if such a calm, quiet, serene, undisturbed place is given, the mind will not remain calm, quiet, undisturbed. It will not. Why? Preparation is required. Remember, this kind of deep sadhana is advocated only in the end. Till the time, one has to be in the field of work. Work, action is the place where we are becoming perfect for spiritual life. One should never think action and spiritual life cannot go together. Never. In action we grow. Action makes us perfect. Work makes us pure. Remember, first verse, how did we start? Tapo vikshina papana. And what did we say tapas to be? Various, our own duties, we do it to perfection. And along with these duties, you take up your sadhanas. Who says no? One should not think that spiritual life is possible only for some renunciates, some tapasvis. No, that's not the fact. It is well possible. It is well possible in the field of daily life, in the field of our work. And one must do that. In fact, that is for a long period, in fact. Now, when is Shankaracharya ji speaking about this? At the highest point of meditation, he is speaking this. Till that time, one continues one's work, one continues one's duties, one continues the field of action, chosen action, whatever that field may be. A doctor, an engineer, an architect, an accountant, a professor, anything. And then one spiritual path should go along with this. Of course, at this point what happens? You cannot do only this. At this point. But that is the highest point. That's the highest point. Till that point, if one gives up action prematurely, such a person cannot spiritually grow. Cannot grow. 90% the requirement is purity of mind. And that purity of mind can come only in action. And along with the other sadhanas one takes up. And once the purity of mind comes, then one enters into Vedantic study. It doesn't mean one enters to Vedantic study, it means one does nothing. One is only meditating. No. One does Vedantic studies, one does work, it goes on. For some people it may happen that they are able to give full time dedicated to spiritual pursuit. But that's not everybody's. Each one has got a different kind of inner calling. One must go according to one's inner calling. And not force anybody's inner calling on somebody else. You understand what I'm talking, all of you? Yeah. So, in the field of work, working with dedication, offering it at the lotus feet of the Lord, karma yoga, taking up sadhanas, japa, yoga, puja, so on and so forth, purifying the mind more and more, gaining for the mind that chitta ekagrata, studying, daily studying. It's not that if I want to study Atmabodha, I have to do nothing, I have to do only study. No. Daily study. That's called swadhyaya. One walks slowly, 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 slowly. And when one comes to this highest meditation, don't be concerned, don't be worried. Swamiji, at that time, what will I do? I have to do this. No. Situations will be in such a manner that you will be able to come to this. It is cosmos. Cosmos means what? It's all working according to the rules and regulations and requirements of each and every one. When you are ready for it, the situation also will become like that, where you can deeply focus and do this. But all those things have to come slowly, slowly, slowly. Premature giving up of work is very dangerous to the spiritual pursuit. I'm saying this so many times. Why? Because people see these kind of things only. So much is discussed there, Shravana, Manana and all those things. But Vivikta Desha. Now, I must, to go to a spiritual life, I must go into an ashram, settle down there. Or, I must go to the banks of Ganges. Or, I must go to Himalayas. So, walk the path, gain more and more purity, and go into Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and at the right time, things will all happen. So, now speaking about this person, I think something is wrong, Dinesh. I'm not able to get proper audio here. So, speaking about this person, Vivikta Desha Asinaha, Virago Vijitendriyaha, the mind free of any attachments, the senses all in control, such a person meditates upon that one self single pointedly. And as this person meditates on the single self, what does he do? Atmaniyeva akilam drishyam, the entire world of experiences. What does this person do? Atmaniyeva, in the self, pravilapya, dissolving it. Meaning dissolving it means what? Not considering the world of object to be other than the self. Every object that I see is only Sachidananda in expression, like how Budbudani iva varini. That's water alone appears as all the bubbles. When the bubbles appear, they are water. When the bubbles exist, they are water. When the bubbles cease, they are also water. In this vision means what? In this way, looking at the world not as other than oneself, but dissolving the world in the self. Now, this is the meaning of dissolving the world in the self. Dissolving the world doesn't mean like sugar you take and then you put in water, and it's not physical. Dissolving the world in the self means what? Understanding this world is also nothing but the expression of Sachidananda. That is called dissolving. So, the world is not other than me. What is it I want? That is already me. What is it I need? That is already me. So, in this way, dissolving the whole world in the self, meaning not considering the world to be other than yourself, and all the properties of the world, rupa, varnadikam, meaning shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, sound, touch, smell, smell, taste, all of them, vihaya. Not paying attention to them. In this way, when the person is fully immersed in the self, then what happens? Even that last thought, aham brahmasmi, with that thought only this person had come so far. With that thought only the person was able to give up all other thoughts. Now that thought also the person gives up. The person gives up means what? That thought naturally ends. Naturally ends. Yesterday we saw the example, right? What was the example we saw? I want to sleep, I want to sleep, I want to sleep. And finally what happens to the thought, I want to sleep? That also ends. And what is there? Only sleep is. In that manner. One more example Swamiji used to give is about the pole vaulter. The pole vaulter. The pole vaulting competition is there, no? Olympics everywhere. This pole vault. Not javelin. Javelin is they throw like that. Pole vaulting. You take the pole and you run. And then you put it. And then you jump. You must have seen it. That's called pole vaulting. So what does this person do? Takes the pole and gathers speed. And keeps the pole. Using the pole, he catapults. Using the pole, he jumps high. And then what does he do at the end? Gives up the pole and goes to the beyond. The same way, this meditator takes up the aham brahmasmi thought and gathers momentum, accelerates in his meditation. And with the help of that aham brahmasmi thought, goes high in meditation. And then what does this person do? He gives up the aham brahmasmi thought and goes to the beyond, goes to the self and remains as the self. Paripurna chidananda swarupena avatishtate. He is the, now you cannot say he experiences the paripurna sachidananda. No, he is not experiencing. He is the paripurna sachidananda. Swarupena avatishtate. He abides. He abides, he exists. He is deeply, now I can't say he is deeply rooted in Sachidananda. Nothing I can say. I can't give any division between he and him. He is that. I can't say he is that. Only that he is. And one's nature is that. Sachidananda is one's nature. To say that I want to experience Sachidananda, is as foolish as saying, I want to see me. You can't see yourself because you are you. You can see something else. But can I experience myself then? Can I know myself then? You don't have to know, but your own self being of the nature of consciousness is self-revealing. Therefore, where is the need to know? When it is shining so well, because it is you yourself and it is consciousness. Consciousness cannot be hidden from itself. Consciousness cannot be hidden from itself. It is pure consciousness. It is of the nature of awareness, of the nature of consciousness. And that cannot be hidden from oneself because one is that. Jnatra jnana jneya bhedaha pare atmani na vidyate. The distinction of I know the self is not there. Because in I know the object, what is there? There is I, there is an object other than you, and then there is thought connecting I and the object. Here, I and Sachidananda are one and the same. There is no thought required for me to know Sachidananda because I am Sachidananda. To know something, I need a thought. Chidanandaika rupatva. That Ananda is of the nature of consciousness. That is you. Swayameva dipyate. Deepyate swayamevahi. Up to this we have seen yesterday. Now let us move forward. Next verse.
Evam Aatmaa aranau dhyaana athane satatam krite
Krite.
uditaa avagati-jwaalaa sarva ajnaanen-dhanam dahet. Evam Aatmaa aranau dhyaana athane satatam krite uditaa avagati-jwaalaa sarva ajnaanen-dhanam dahet.
Evam. Evam, in this manner. In this manner, performing dhyana. Practicing dhyana. In other words, what is dhyana here means what? The highest stage of dhyana, which is samadhi. Going to the, do you understand the word pinnacle? Highest, the topmost point. It's a peak. Mount Everest is starting from bottom, it is Mount Everest. Now you go to the tip of it. That's called pinnacle. In the same way, you take to dhyana and go to the tip of it. Go to the end of it. Go to the end of it means what? Even that aham brahmasmi thought is gone. And that, he says, is what? That is like churning of the arani. Anybody has seen arani churning? For lighting a homa, the fire of the homa, right? Agni, the yajna and all, they use something to churn. Swamiji, we take mastic, put there. That is what we do. But in the traditional yagas and all, to light the fire, they have the churning process. That is called arani. It typically has a adara arani. There is a lower wooden cup like this. Then you have a upper uttara arani. And then you have a rod. So this is held tight. And then the rod is churned. And in the bottom, they will have some cotton, cloth or something like that. Something. And then when it is churned, what happens? This indana, this fuel, this cotton, gets fire. And that fire is used for burning. Starting the yajna or yaga. And then all the whatever is there is totally burnt. Okay? Now that is the example. Now remember, just by keeping like this and the wood here and the cloth, cotton here, this indana, this fuel, these sticks which are used for the yajna are not going to get burnt. What has to be done? The churning has to be. And how the churning has to be done? Continuously. And it is a very, sometimes, it just pains here. And if you see those churning, mantra will be chanted. And along with the mantra, the churning also will go on. And the person cannot stop. Continuously on. Tired, feeling, go on. Oh, I want to stop. No, go on. Fire comes. The same way, you meditate. And you meditate, aham brahmasmi. It's not japa. In japa you are just saying verbally. This is happening deeply. And you are moving further. Don't drop. Go ahead. No, still you have to climb. You have not reached the peak. I am breathless. No, in meditation nobody becomes breathless, okay? While climbing a mountain you become breathless. On. Go on. And finally what happens? This gets fire. And with this, the entirety, all those sticks which are used for yajna, the yaga, catches fire. Now this example is just saying, when you just do the matana, which is similar. Matana is a churning of the arani. In the same way, you yourself are this what? You yourself are the arani. You yourself, Evam Aatmaa aranau. In the arani, in which the fire is created by churning, you yourself, where is the meditation happening? Meditation happening in you yourself. You yourself means what? In the antakarana, in your mind. In your mind, intellect, the meditation is happening. But continue. Satatam krite. Non-stop you do. No giving up in the middle. Then what happens? Uditaa avagati-jwaalaa. The flame of knowledge arises. The fire of knowledge erupts, springs from this. And from that what happens? Sarva ajnaanen-dhanam dahet. Dahet means burnt. What is burned? All the fire, the homas, the sticks used for homa, right? All of them gets burnt. And that is called as what? Sarva ajnaanen-dhanam. All the sticks of ignorance is completely burnt. Are you understanding the metaphor and what is communicated? Here, what is the arani? Arani is we ourselves. When I say we ourselves, what are we referring to? Mind and intellect, with which we have identification. In which the Jivatma has got the identification. In that itself, you do the dhyana. And what is important there? It is satatam krite. You should not give up in the middle. Go ahead. Reach the end. And when you go to the end, what happens? The fire of knowledge, Atmabodha arises. And with this Atmabodha, the entire realm of ignorance is burnt, comes to an end. What is the purpose of knowledge? The purpose of knowledge is only to remove ignorance. It is not to reveal the self. Now this point, what did I say? What is the point? Knowledge removes ignorance. Knowledge is not for revealing the self. This is very unique. In every other field, knowledge is to give you knowledge of the object of knowledge. In every other field. Any knowledge gives you understanding about the object. Any other field. Because it's all objective. But here, what is knowledge doing? Knowledge is not revealing the object, the self. Knowledge is only putting an end to the ignorance. Ignorance is what? I do not know the self, that is removed. Now let us see the verse and then we'll see the explanation.
Arunena bodhena poorva-san-tamase hrite
Samtamase hrite
tat aavir-bhavet aatmaa
tata aavir-bhavet aatmaa
swayam
amshumaan
Arunena bodhena poorva-san-tamase hrite tat aavir-bhavet aatmaa swayam amshumaan.
The charioteer of the sun is called Aruna. As though sun is going on a chariot. And his charioteer is what? Aruna. Aruna is a charioteer. Aruna is dawn. Dawn. Dawn, dusk, dawn. Dawn. What do you call dawn in Hindi? Anybody there? Huh? Okay, dawn. Okay, that word I know, I can say. Oh yeah. All of you can hear that, right? That dawn, what does the dawn do? The sun, the Aruna brings the sun. He's a chariot, he's bringing the sun. Now Aruna is bringing the sun. That's a Puranic way of presentation. Okay? In other words, first dawn comes. When the dawn comes, what happens? The whole night's darkness, dense darkness. When the dawn comes, the darkness goes. And when the darkness goes, what happens? The sun arrives. In other words, what is dawn Aruna doing? Aruna is only putting an end to darkness. And when the darkness goes, sun is there. That is the Puranic presentation. Now, using that, Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, first this knowledge comes and puts an end to ignorance. And when the knowledge puts an end to ignorance, then what happens? Tata aavir-bhavet Aatmaa. The self is there in full glory. In other words, knowledge has got only one function, to destroy ignorance. Knowledge means what? That thought aham brahmasmi, from which arises that clarity. That clarity, it has got only one function, put an end to that ignorance. What is the nature of ignorance? I don't know the self. It puts an end to ignorance. Self is not known to me. It puts an end to that ignorance. And when ignorance ends, you don't have to do anything to know the self. The self shines of its own accord. I can't give you an example for this. This is the example he is giving. Okay, Shankaracharya is giving. But from the outside world, I can't give you any example. I can't give you any example from the outside world. Because in the outside world, what happens? Knowledge reveals the object. Knowledge reveals the object. For example, knowledge of what is there in my hand is only something, few things are there. Plate. Knowledge of the plate reveals the plate. Knowledge of the plate reveals the plate. Here, what is happening? Knowledge only removes the veil of ignorance. It does not reveal the object. Here, object is what? Subject. The subject self shines. I am very sorry, this is very, very subtle. You have to understand yourself. Maybe I can give you one example. What example? I can give you dream example. Now you are dreaming. In dream, what happens? The world is imagined. You have an imagined world. You have an imagined self also. Right? A dream is. You are walking and going. Suddenly a lion chases you and you are running. You run. Finally the lion jumps at you. And when the lion jumps at you, you wake up. Okay? Now what has the lion done? Lion has put an end to the dream. Lion has put an end to the dreamer you. That's all. That's all. Lion has not created the waker you. When the dreamer you ends in dream by the power of the dream lion, when the dreamer you ends by the power of the dream lion, not waking lion, it's not an outside lion, dream lion, then what happens? That's all, function is over. It doesn't have to create the waker you. When the dreamer ends, the waker is. Maybe this is the closest example I can give you. The dream lion is no more there to see you when you are awake. The dream lion puts an end to the dreamer you and is not there. Now when you are a waker, the dream lion is not there to welcome sir, welcome to the waking state. No, it's not there. The same way, jnana. What is jnana? The crystal clear knowledge, aham brahma asmi. That is knowledge. That puts an end to what? The ignorance. What is ignorance? Aham jivaha asmi. Dream lion puts an end to the dreamer you. Aham brahmasmi puts an end to the ignorance. Aham jivaha asmi. I am jiva. That's all. Jiva ends. And then you, Sachidananda, you are there. Just as how dawn, Aruna, removes the darkness of the night, and then you find the resplendent sun. Example. That's all. It's making a division. In other words, the sun shines of its own accord. Only the darkness is removed. So to say, Aruna, the dawn comes, the charioteer of the sun comes, the darkness goes away, and what is there for you? The sun is shining of its own accord. In other words, knowledge has got only function, that is to remove ignorance, and then the Atman shines of its own accord. Shines by itself. That knowledge is not creating Atman. That knowledge has not given for you the new Atman, Sachidananda. It has not given. Knowledge did what then? Knowledge just removed ignorance. But Swamiji, why can't knowledge illumine the self? Because self is self-effulgent. And knowledge also is a thought. Thought is also mind and intellect. Mind and intellect are inert in nature. They cannot reveal the self. And then when the self shines, it's as though you have got the self. But the self was already there. It was already there. You are the self. The self was ever there. I am the self. I thought I was jiva. When I think I am the jiva, the knowledge aham brahmasmi puts an end to the ignorance aham jiva asmi, and then the self is there. Earlier, you remember, there was one example, the clouds covering the sun. When the clouds are removed by the wind, what is there? The sun shines by itself. Swayam amshumaan iva. In the same way, when ignorance is removed by, like clouds, when the ignorance is removed by the knowledge, then the self shines of its own accord. And then to say, I have gained the self, avagati-jwaalaa, you are already the self. What is gaining here? What is there, you have discovered. That's all. You have discovered. It was your nature, you discovered. Now, a beautiful example is given to explain this. Let us go to the next verse and see.
Aatmaa tu satatam praaptopi apraapta-vat avidyayaa tannashe praapta-vat bhati swa-kantha-abharanam yatha Aatmaa tu satatam praaptopi apraapta-vat avidyayaa तन्नाशे प्राप्तवद् भाति swa-kantha-abharanam yatha.
Those of you who are wearing specs, have you any time the experience of searching for specs even though you are wearing the specs? Have you had that experience? This one, everybody. The key for your scooter or bike or whatever, car, whatever, is in your pocket. And have we searched for it? Yes. And then when we found out it is there, right? How foolish it feels, When you find that the specs is already there, then you say, oh, you feel so foolish about yourself. It was already there. You just recognized it is there. It's a recognition. It is a discovery. The specs was already there. The same way, my nature is Satchidananda. Where can it go away? Somehow by some foolishness unimaginable, I have thought I am the individual. Now when that ignorance goes away, the self which is already me, and that Atman, Aatmaa tu satatam praaptah, the self is ever attained. The self was never lost. It had never gone away somewhere. Because it is you yourself. I am is ever a well-experienced fact. Now, I am body, I am mind, I am intellect. That is ignorance. But even when you say I am body, I am mind, I am intellect, I am is still there. It is never lost. Even when you say my specs is not found here, it is already there, always there, never gone, never lost. In the same way, this Satchidananda, the self, the Atman, the Brahman is ever attained. Even now it is. It is not a new thing. It is not to be created. It is not lost. It is ever there. But then what? Apraapta-vat. Aatmaa tu satatam praaptah api. Api means what? Even though. Even though the self is ever there, ever attained, never lost. But then what? Apraapta-vat. As though you have not, as though you don't have the self. As though the self is lost. As though your Satchidananda Swarupa is gone. It's not there. Why is that? Avidyayaa. Because of ignorance. What is ignorance? The notion, I am the body. That is ignorance. That is so strong. I equal to body is so strong that body gains so much of importance and you forget I am. The identification is so powerful that it kind of makes you disappear. I am, when you say, that is Satchidananda. But that Satchidananda, because of ignorance, I am pure existence only. But Satchidananda, because of ignorance, is equated to body. And then body becomes I. And I experience body so much, I forget the pure I am. The same way with the mind also. The same way with the intellect also. What I see in ignorance overpowers, so to say, my awareness. My awareness is taken away by body, taken away by mind, taken away by intellect. That I forget my true nature of Satchidananda. This is all ignorance only. Satchidananda never went away. It is ever there. It is you yourself. It can't go anywhere. It is not your friend who can go from you and come back. It is not even some god in some temple. That is Bhagavan, that is you, that is Paramatma, that is Brahman, that is in me. That is not even in me, that is me. But yet what happens? My identification with the body, mind and intellect so to say, makes me feel that I have no experience of the self, that I have to gain experience of self. Now only I have understood the self. Now I have become sadhak. I become jignasu. I become mumukshu. And then you say, I will have to do Shravana. Swamiji, Shravana will come later. First I have to do Karma Yoga. Purify my mind. Gain Chitta Shuddhi, Chitta Ekagrata. Japa, yesterday I learned. I am doing Japa regularly now onwards. Why? I want to experience the self. Afterwards, I am going to take up Shravanas. After I go back home, I have to study Atmabodha once more. Once more not sufficient. Thrice I should study. I'm thinking, I've planned out all those things. Why? I want to experience the self. Are Buddho. When I say I want to experience the self, that I is the self, man. कुछ गड़बड़ हो गया. Avidyayaa. Tannashe. Tannashe means what? When the avidya is ended. I think sometimes you know what happens? When you're too tired. I'm just telling my experience. Too tired. And you go to sleep with the japmala. Whatever mala. Here, swa-kantha-abharanam is there. Mala. Now what happens? That mala goes this side. Sleep. You get up morning. Where is the mala? Usually I keep the mala near my bed under the, I do japa and go to sleep. Where is the mala? Where is the mala? Where is the mala? Morning you get up. First thing you want to go to bathroom. No, mala is missing. Mala. Japamala mein mala is not there. What is it? Where to do? And then we'll see later. You go to bathroom. And then you look at the mirror. Arey, hai to yahan. Then you go outside, take the mala, put in front of the altar, and then again come to bathroom. Satatam praapta. But due to imagination. Due to imagination, due to ignorance. Due to ignorance, so strong the notion is I am the body, mind and intellect that I is forgotten. Body only comes. Just as so when we see others, only their body is seen. We don't, in the same way, we see our own body only. Nothing else. Tannashe, when that ignorance is destroyed, when the notion I am the body, mind, intellect is destroyed, then what happens? Praapta-vat bhati. It appears as though you have gained the self. Praapta-vat, as though bhati. It is only an appearance. You never lost the self. You never gained the self. What was lost was ignorance. That's all. Ignorance was lost, but you can't say I gained the self. Because already it was there. The ignorance that I lost, the mala is lost. Mala is never gained. You can never gain the self. You can never gain the self. All the sadhana is only to remove ignorance. All the sadhana, including the final sadhana of Atmabodha, is only to give up the ignorance, not to gain the self. The subtle concept. Aatmaa tu satatam praaptah apraapta-vat avidyayaa. Actually, it's very difficult to break this verse. Because if you want to really break, you can't. Atmaa tu satatam praaptopi apraaptopi apraapta-vat avidyayaa. It is not sounding correct. Meter, some banga is there. Atmaa tu satatam praapto apraapta-vat avidyayaa. Again there's a problem. what has happened is that sandhi is there. Usually these kind of verses, we are dividing so that for ease of reading. The true way of reading is Aatmaa tu satatam praaptopyapya praapta-vat avidyayaa tannashe praapta-vat bhati swa-kantha-abharanam yata. For ease of reading, tannashe praapta-vat bhati swa-kantha, we break it. But actually it is one line. There is no comma, nothing. It's one line only. It's one line. That breaking is only for ease of reading. Okay? Shall we read this verse together? Atmaa tu satatam praaptopi apraapta-vat avidyayaa tannashe praapta-vat bhati swa-kantha-abharanam yata. We'll stop now. Okay? Little subtle points for the day. Reflect. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.